our Why We Sleep deep dive. Today we are taking you through the final chapters of Matthew Walker's book, so chapters 14, 15, and 16.
Yeah, we are really getting into the heavy hitters today.
Right. We're ready to expose the terrifying truth about sleep medications and explore the massive societal changes Walker is demanding. And we'll arm you with actionable sleep hygiene tactics you can actually use tonight.
It is the perfect culmination of everything we've been talking about this season. We're shifting from the science of why we sleep to the real-world consequences of a society that just refuses to do so.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with something millions of people rely on, which is sleeping pills.
Yeah.
Things like Ambien.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. A lot of folks take these thinking they're finally getting a good night's rest, but Walker argues we're getting this completely wrong. What is actually happening when you pop a prescription sleep aid?
What's fascinating here is the neurological difference between actual sleep and what these pills do, because prescription sleeping pills do not generate natural sleep. They belong to a class of drugs called sedatives,
Okay.
which target the exact same receptors in the brain as alcohol.
Wait, so it's not actually putting you to sleep. It's more like...
Like passing out. Precisely.
Yeah.
It is essentially chemically knocking out the brain's power grid rather than letting your body naturally power down into restorative sleep.
Wow.
You are just being sedated. Your higher cortex is simply knocked offline.
But wait, if it's not real sleep, what is it doing to our brains? Because we know natural deep sleep is crucial for cementing new memories. Do these pills at least help you retain what you learned that day?
Unfortunately, no. In studies, Ambien-induced sleep actually caused a 50% weakening of newly formed brain cell connections.
50%.
50%.
Yeah.
It acts more like a memory eraser than a memory engraver. You might lose consciousness slightly faster, but you wake up with fewer memories of the previous day.
That is incredibly scary. To think you're helping yourself, but you are actually eroding your memory. But it is not just individuals reaching for pills. Walker points out that some of our biggest institutions are structurally depriving us of sleep, starting with schools.
Right, this is a major area. Walker is demanding we change. Think about forcing teenagers to wake up at 5:30 a.m. for early school start times. According to the book, this biologically starves them of the critical REM sleep they desperately need at that developmental stage.
And what is the fallout from that? Just tired teens sleeping through first period?
It's much worse. It leads to symptoms that perfectly mimic ADHD and even psychosis.
Wow.
But when we actually adjust to biological reality, the results are staggering. Walker highlights a school district in Teton County, Wyoming.
Oh, yeah, I remember this part.
Right. When they delayed their school start time from 7:35 a.m. to a much more reasonable 8:55 a.m., they saw a 70% drop in teen car crashes.
A 70% drop. It is horrifying to think about kids behind the wheel in that sleep-deprived state.
Absolutely.
But as Walker points out, it's not just our teens being set up to fail by institutional schedules. The people we rely on to save our lives are also being chronically sleep-deprived. What is going on in the medical field?
It's a brutal system. The medical establishment forces residents into 30-hour continuous shifts, and the data is horrifying. When medical residents work these sleepless 30-hour shifts, there is a 460% spike in diagnostic mistakes in the ICU.
460%. That's insane.
It gets worse. Shockingly, 1 in 20 residents will actually kill a patient due to a lack of sleep. Walker argues we desperately need to fix these hazardous schedules.
I definitely want my doctor wide awake if I'm in the ICU. But since you and I can't change hospital policy overnight, let's pivot to what you, listening right now, can actually control. Walker lays out some powerful sleep hygiene tips. Where do we even start?
Number 1 is regularity. This is the absolute golden rule. You need to go to bed and wake up at the exact same time every day.
No matter what, even on weekends when you just want to catch up on rest.
Even on weekends. Sleeping in doesn't pay back your sleep debt. It just disrupts your biological clock. You have to anchor your sleep schedule.
Good to know. What is the next big one?
Temperature. You need to keep your bedroom cool. Your core body temperature actually needs to drop a few degrees to successfully initiate and maintain deep sleep.
So basically, sticking one foot out from under the blanket is actually a scientifically valid sleep strategy.
It genuinely is. Your hands and feet are great at radiating heat. And our third major tip is darkness. We need to limit exposure to blue and LED light in the evening.
That's because of melatonin, right? The screen light tricks our brains into thinking the sun is still up.
Exactly. That artificial light suppresses your brain's ability to release melatonin, which is the hormone that signals to your body that it is time to sleep. You need to give your biology the right environment to do its job.
So what does this all mean for you? It is about respecting your biology and prioritizing rest.
And before we go, I want to leave you with a chilling observation from Walker to Mullover. He argues that humanity's deliberate sleep deprivation is actually a slow form of self-euthanasia. Reclaiming our sleep isn't some self-care luxury. It is a fundamental, non-negotiable biological necessity.
That wraps up our deep dive into why we sleep. Thank you for hanging out with us. Let us know in the comments what book we should tackle next season.